Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday, casual conversations for serious workflows brought to you by schoolofbookkeeping.com, which is all about learning QuickBooks your way. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm a little frustrated, but we talked a little bit before that. I just
What did I miss? What did I miss? Oh, by the way, that's Hamilton.
I want to be in the room where it happened. Just trying to think of a tie-in. Anyway, um, yeah, so I'm working on a data project and it's just not working.
Oh,
And
that's what's your. Okay, I
yeah,
thought you were frustrated about something else. Okay. Yep.
no, no,
I
no.
I would be too.
Well, but today we're actually going to be talking about custom fields. So the question of the day is, how do you use custom fields? Like what do what do you find using custom fields leads to when you're talking and working with a customer, Rachel?
Well, I love custom fields. I love that they're there, except for what I really want is to add columns on the sales forms, and I know you can't necessarily do that with custom fields. So my opinion on them is it's great, but I wish that it could do more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's typically and it's not just QuickBooks, it's other applications too, right? Where um, the out of the box functionality it boils down to, here's the things that you can do inside of, the workflows that you can do to track your business. But it's typically, the business then says, but we do it this way, or
Yeah,
we need
exactly.
we
There's always
need
seems to be some type of limitations of the custom field. So it for
right.
some people it's great, for some people it's not as helpful.
Yeah, and most questions up to that nature of like, I need more than what this program is allowing me to do, falls into some form of customization. And one of the out of the box options is custom fields, right? So if we need to track our items, or something extra that doesn't necessarily have a functionality tied into it, then custom fields tends to be the answer, right? Now, QuickBooks Online has custom fields, but there's been this, I don't know. the the journey of custom fields in QuickBooks Online has had its twists and turns, right? Um,
Yeah, and I know from what we've discussed here on the workshop is then there's another twist is that when people are converting from desktop to online,
yeah,
there's certain limitations of what can be brought over with custom fields as well. So it can get pretty complicated.
yeah. So, like, if we just kind of talk about the custom fields in desktop, you have custom fields that you can use for customers, vendors, employees, other names, which is just another name, a list, which isn't one of those three. It's just like miscellaneous names. Usually, it's like partners
Mhm.
and things like that, that aren't necessarily one or the other. And then you also have custom fields that you can assign to items, right? And in desktop, all of those custom fields can flow into reports, and all of those custom fields can flow into the template customizations, meaning that what you see and send out of QuickBooks, whether it's an invoice, sales receipt, um, pick list, you have all sorts of different templates that you can modify, and you can add these custom fields on it. And once and what ends up happening is that there's a custom field that's associated with a list, right? So a simple thing is like their birthday, right?
Mhm.
Want to know that customer's birthday, so then you can run reports and see whose birthday is this month, so I can send them something, right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's a great thing to track.
Exactly. It's not something that's a standard field, so you might want to define that as a custom field. Now, there's another layer of creating a custom field that in which you can define what that field actually is, right? So whether it's just a text field or a number field or a date field or a drop down, right? So that you have different options to define
Yes.
what that custom field is. And the reason that you want to define what that custom field is that because that field flows into transactions and subsequently reporting, if you've defined your field as a date, for example, then you can use date filters in your
Yes.
report,
Yeah.
right? Now,
Yeah,
if
it's
you
great. And a
use
lot of apps have that same kind of building of custom fields, and it's great.
right,
Man, do I wish that they had that in QuickBooks Online.
well, in advanced, you can do that. You can define the kind
Oh, I
of
didn't know you could define the
yeah,
type of field in advanced. Okay, that's
right.
cool.
So you can do that in advance. Now, because of the whole, I can't even think of the word. I mean, I want to say cluster whatever with
Hmm.
tags.
Charlie Foxtrot. Yeah, the whole tags thing. Yeah.
Because of that whole thing, the change with tags and then the backtracking of
Yeah, they took them
of
away and then they
tags.
brought them back. We talked about that here on the workshop.
Yeah, you can define one type of field in all of the different versions of QuickBooks, and that's that drop down because of, and you can thank tags for that, to being able to do that. So now all versions of QuickBooks Online have this ability to define a custom field as a number and number or text. I'm sorry, a text and number, text only. Excuse me. I should just show it. Or this drop down. You don't have the ability to define all versions as a date. So that's the sole advantage of advanced with when it comes to defining fields is that you can define them as a date,
Yeah.
which the 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 power of custom fields is unlocked in reporting when you can actually use defined custom fields in the way that those fields actually are, right? So
Yes.
if you define a custom field as a number, then you can use operators in reporting to find, you know, I want this stuff that's greater than 10, for example, right? So if
Yeah.
so because you have defined the field as a number, anything that's in there that's not a number is not going to be part of that report filter, right?
Which is super, super important because it's just you have to have these built-in ways to filter out
Right.
stuff so you can sort of zero in on what you want.
Right. So the
Otherwise you're just combing through
right,
just tons and tons of junk, or you're having to export to Excel, and then, which is kind of the way that I always do it,
right,
and have done for a long time. Pivot table what you need, and it's really nice to be able to build your report to pull what you need instead of having to export.
exactly. Right. So there is now a difference between so you get things that are defined, and there's like a oh, I don't know where I saw something in the background. And I'm like, what is that? Sorry. I'm just a very distractible today. Um, so the advantage of defining your fields is that you can then minimize mistakes, right? So if you define a field as a date, for example, and then, or sorry, if you want to use it as a date, we'll use this example of the birthday, but it's defined as a free text field, then people typing in 12/31, 1955, or 12/31/55, or 12-31, so you end up having
Yeah, or somebody could type out
yeah,
December
yeah,
4th, 1955, and you have unlike items. So how can you
right,
build a report like that? No,
right.
nonsense.
So the reporting
Yeah.
filter is not useful if you cannot define it for what you want to
Yeah.
use it for. Now, if that's okay, if you don't mind that, by all means, you can just use that as, and if you just want to see all of them and then make your changes, you certainly can.
I don't know who would ever want that. That would
Right.
be a total lunatic to me.
Right. So now what we're getting to with the changes that have occurred as far as custom fields in QuickBooks Online is that um, there's a difference between a custom field that is that you associate with a customer, and that custom field finding its way to a transaction,
Yeah.
right? So, um, again, we use this example of the birthday, right? If for whatever reason you wanted to have the customer's birthday show up on the invoice, then that's different, right? Like that is a custom field that flows to transactions, right? And so most common uses are, um, preferred delivery method, or
Yeah.
prefer, some kind of preference that you want to have flow into the transaction. Maybe
Or
the
like maybe wholesale versus retail customer
Yeah,
or something like
customer
that. That's
type
something that comes up
is
for me
a
often.
is a common thing there. Customer type is a little bit of a gray area because there is a customer type drop down, and not necessarily a custom field, but there is oftentimes a need for the custom field that's on the list element, whether it's the customer, vendor, or employee, to flow into a transaction of some sort, right? So the change is, um, let me share the screen. Where to go? All right. So um, just in July, right? Custom fields have gotten a slight increase. The blog article says a major overhaul, but it's now you can have up to 30 custom fields on customers, right? So you all versions of QuickBooks as of July 2025, QBO subscriptions, except for Ledger, right? So Ledger doesn't get anything, but Ledger doesn't have customers. So there's a reason. um, you can add up to 30 custom fields to customer profiles, and these can include text, number, date, and drop down fields with up to.
Very cool.
So basically, all of the things that you could do in advance, uh, you can now do on your customers up to 30 different times. So you can have all sorts of different, customizations for your customers in QuickBooks Online. But there's always a but, right? You can't use those on transactions. Right?
Well, certain things you might not want to put on transactions, like
Right.
internal customer ratings.
Exactly. So you're going to have up to 30 uh, 30 new fields that you can add to your customers, right? So this adds all sorts of different things that you can do in as far as your customers are concerned, um, and it's for all versions. So even Simple Start, you can add 30 custom fields. However, the version that you're using will block you, or not allow for some of those custom fields to show up on transactions. So this here's the catch here, is that even though you can create up to 30 custom fields on customer records, the number of custom fields you can actually use on transactions like invoices or sales receipts and bills is still limited by your QBO subscription.
Mm,
Simple Start, you've got 30 customer custom fields that you can define, but you can still only use one
that's
of those
weird.
custom fields on the transaction. Essentials is 4, plus is 4, and advanced is 12, right? So
Why would they even have made it all the versions to have 30? It must have been like it was easy to apply it to all of them, so they just did it, I guess. But I don't know. That seems weird.
It's kind of like, yeah, it's very perplexing as to why this change occurred and what you can actually do with it, right? So your your reports that are going to be enhanced by this 30 custom fields is really only the customer contact list, right? So
Hmm.
the lists that you'd be running that look at your customers, can be filtered or added. These columns can be added, but the challenge is, if you want if that if you're running reports that are looking at transactions and trying to filter for custom fields of the customer that were used on the transactions, you'll be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, and it's
Because
weird. And then that's also who is going to have a million zillion customers in Simple Start that they could utilize 30 custom fields and want to, sort things that way, and then really only, um, you know, sorry, the way that I'm trying to explain it is, it seems like if somebody would have need for that kind of complexity, they wouldn't be in Simple Start. They would be in something
right,
maybe a little
right,
bit. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not quite sure why Simple Start gets the it was
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we would just be speculating, and as Landon is saying correctly in the comments, I don't know why I can't show it here. Oh, is it not showing? Oh, I guess
No, I
apparently.
can see it. Yeah, he said, "Who would have thunk?" I
Yeah,
know, and it's weird. It's like it almost feels like somebody like flipped on the switch for 30 in all of the subscription levels, and then somebody else said, "No, wait a minute. We have to only allow but one per transaction for Simple Start, and two for the next or something."
yeah.
Now you don't have it on
Well,
your screen anymore, but
well, I mean, Simple Start got this one because of the tags, right?
yeah,
So I think it would. I mean, again, I'm just speculating. Not sure. No one has told us yay or nay as to why. Um, Likely, it's probably easier to just give it to all subscriptions rather than making some kind of
that's what
limitation.
I'm saying. Yeah, it's probably somehow like in the way that they code it or whatever. It's probably easiest to just apply it to all of them.
Right. So, so when you need more custom fields than what these custom fields will allow you to do, that this is where you're looking at some other method
That's where
of
we get
being able to.
Yusuf from
Right,
crafting clouds.
right. And I thought about asking him to join, but unfortunately he couldn't join us today. But this is where something like method, adding that enhancement to QuickBooks Online is so powerful, right? Because it
Yeah.
is the ability to synchronize custom fields back and forth between method and QuickBooks Online. You can do that, so you can basically utilize these 30 custom fields and send them over to method. But now in method, you can actually use them on transactions, or you can use
Right.
them elsewhere. So it kind of unlocks, it kind of takes it to the next level, being able to utilize something. And then this will then allow you can then create your own custom reports based off of those custom fields in method.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the auto industry, they call it aftermarket
Right.
upgrades.
There we go. It's
I always have to bring it back to the auto industry because of my husband. So, there's certain things that come stock
yeah,
in, QBO, and they're an OEM, and
right.
unfortunately, we've got to like take it to the aftermarket to customize it and add
Yeah,
exhaust and slant
yeah.
it and add tires and add rims and all kinds of stuff.
QuickBooks Online is a Jeep,
Yes.
right? And we want to trick it out so we get more ducks.
Yeah, of course. We have to like darken the windows and add a
Right.
spoiler and,
And
put spinners.
change the fenders, and
Of
give it an
course.
angry
Yeah.
face. I've seen those
So that, I mean, but
where the
honestly,
Jeep's
that's what I
behind you and it
really,
looks angry at you.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I really like about QBO though is, you know, a lot of people I feel, get frustrated, it can only do this, it can only do that. Well, I mean, come on, we can customize it in all kinds of different ways. And it's really, I love it because then you can just be creative and, you can connect it with all kinds of different things. And, so for people like me that are a little, and you that are, a little more tech, knowledgeable and stuff like that. And then we get people that really know what they're doing, like Yusuf and Method, then you can really create some cool stuff.
Yeah. I've turned a few people on to clients to Method, and it's kind of like they it's the tip of the iceberg, like we're with things that you can do inside of QuickBooks Online, because people are in like, this is the way I'm going to run my business, but there's really so many other specialized workflows and things in their business
Yeah.
that they really can utilize. Um, something just as simple as I need a way for my customers to log into a portal online and make payments, right? A lot of people who aren't using something like Method, um, will ask us a lot the same question over and over. How do I put a link for QuickBooks payments on my website? Well,
Yeah.
that's not solving for what you're actually solving for. Is you're looking for a customer to be able to log in and be able to make payments.
Yeah.
And if you've got a transaction for them, a customer portal would actually solve that. And then
Yep.
you'd be able to make they can log in on their own and make payments rather than just clicking a link on a button that says, make a payment.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, not even just QuickBooks Online, but really any ERP out there that's cloud-based, they all allow for customization, and that's just the way it is now.
Yeah.
Instead of desktop software that kind of comes, it is what it is, and there isn't really any way to make any changes to it. We're moving away from that at this point.
Right. So, these custom fields, as they it is an enhancement inside of QuickBooks Online. It's just, kind of buyer beware. Yay, I can use 30 custom fields, but it's only for customers, and it's not going to be in your transactions. So now that may change, right? So maybe they're laying the groundwork for.
Yeah, it seems like they are. It seems like they are because I just think that there's the potential to have so much more customization, and people
Yeah,
do like that about desktop. And I do think that if they're smart, they'll add some more of that. I mean,
yeah.
in Plus at least.
I just was thinking that we were talking about some of the changes yesterday on the QuickBooks Power Hour, and we were talking about, and I was doing some research on the Customer Hub, which is an agent that's in Essentials, um, where when you connect it to your Gmail or your Google account, uh, QuickBooks is now going to be able to find leads and prospects out of your email and associate uh, how warm they are, right? So maybe this is a hot lead. Bless you.
Excuse me.
You're allergic to the Customer Hub.
Yeah, I am.
I thought you were getting excited there for a second, but actually, you were about to go,
I was like,
yay.
I don't think I can stop this sneeze. So it
Nothing
can
worse.
search through your email and
Yeah.
find potential
Yeah.
leads.
If you connect, we'll probably have to do a little bit more deeper dive on another workshop. But basically, you can connect your Google or Gmail account uh, to to through QuickBooks, and it will look back for the last 30 days and continue to look for uh, prospective people that are interested in your services. And what it will ultimately do is flag them. for, hey,
Oh, okay.
maybe you should follow up with this person, and then it will assign based on, AI, the
Yeah.
the temperature of the lead, because if they say, hey, I want to buy QuickBooks from you and set up an e-commerce store, right?
Mhm.
That's a pretty hot lead for you, right?
Yeah. Well, and
But
then
if they
also if you
say,
if
I would
go
like
ahead,
to
sorry.
kick the tires, right? Like I
Yeah.
would like to have a consultation with you, that's a little less of a hot lead than,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then it's really cool because if you've built some kind of sales funnel and you've got leads coming into your email, or like me on my website, I have, it'll send me an email if somebody has inquired on my website. So there's all kinds of connectivity going
yeah.
on that, it'll help in case maybe you miss something and then it can bring it in
Hmm.
there. That is really cool. I love that. So it's looking for keywords, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's looking for a certain demeanor of conversation, right? Like this whole
Hmm.
thing of AI and large language model, um, you know, it's looking for more than, a particular keyword. I'm sure a keyword is part of it, but it's probably being able to determine based on an email what the customer is
Yeah.
trying to get.
Yeah, that's really cool. So if there's an email saying do not ever contact me again,
Right.
I hope it won't bring that one in there.
Yeah. I'm wondering, right, with all of the scammy people that I've seen online where they have they've gotten these requests for a consultation
Yeah, we get those a
through the pro
lot.
advisor site. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Unfortunately, a
I'm
lot of
working
those
with
come in.
a production company and they need help training in 2 days and we're going to
Yeah,
pay you an absorbent amount of
yeah.
money. If it will actually start to realize that those are scammy,
Oh,
if
I
it
would
will,
think so.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Do not contact me, hot lead. Yeah, I would think so because we get those all the time, and
yeah,
then they change up their um, type of scam, and then it becomes similar. But
yeah,
usually, they always say, we here are 3 days to choose from to meet with us, and
right,
even though it's slightly different, they still have the 3-day format. And I'm like, oh, I'm not falling for this again.
yeah, yeah. And then you meet up with them and there's some Nigerian prince.
Or they only want to pay you in gift cards.
Right. Yes, I need gift cards. So that's really all we wanted to kind of talk about today about custom fields. It is something to be aware of, right? That and likely with the onset of this customer hub, it may allow you to create these custom fields, or it may create these custom fields for you, for for all of this kind of stuff. So remains to be
Yeah.
seen what actually this may turn into, and as to why 30 was the number that was given.
Yeah,
It's a
I don't know, but you know what? It's interesting though that really a lot of this is still um, in the spirit of database building. You know what I mean? It's not you still have to put in to that work, to kind of create the output that you want. And so even though AI is still, involved in things and very helpful and kind of moving into certain parts, it still takes a lot of work to build the outputs that we want. And this is all still part of it. So it's things are still not like at the touch of a button and give me exactly what I want. I mean, we're not there yet.
Yeah, yeah, and as you'll see, with inside of QuickBooks, as these AI agents start to run interference on your normal day to day things, I
Yeah.
see all sorts of posts about, uh, well, now all my Sam's Club went to health insurance, uh,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Uh, where it's kind of like a step back in order to move forward. I think we're in that grace period
Yeah.
where technology and it's not as accurate as
No.
we would think, and then we're doubting it. But think of like how easy it was to spot AI generated images just a year ago, right?
Right.
People with hands were an issue, right? Like where people had six fingers, or missing appendages, or they were backwards, things like that. And then now it's like getting really really hard to determine what is real and what's not, as far as
I
what's
still
been
feel like I can tell, but I don't know. But
it's
I do think that, although it is improving, but I still think that always remember, it's still, even if that stuff does improve, it's still a tool. It's
yeah,
not going to do the job for us.
yeah.
And oh, and by the way, I yesterday I saw this thing on social media, and it was like the top 100 jobs that will likely be replaced by some type of automation or AI, and then
Mhm.
the 100 jobs least likely, and those were roofing and um, things like that.
Right.
Well, in the top 100 jobs that are likely to be replaced by AI, accounting wasn't even the top 100. And so I know a lot of, the chatter in the accounting world is, oh my goodness, but I don't think anything's going to be completely replaced. I think that, this has become, at least for me, a very handy tool, but man, I'm still building things that I need the output that the way that I want it. And there's no way I could have AI do it all. I can have it help me in some sense.
Hmm.
And like, for example, I was talking with you about this earlier. We're about to embark on this cleanup. And rather than posting all the entry by hand, I can just sort of import it in. It's a great tool, like fantastic. I can import it in, but I still got to do the work.
Yeah, yeah. And then it becomes uh, you know if you're doing busy work, right? Like I'm thinking of a project that I had where there was duplicated items brought in by another application, and we had to merge them manually, right? There was 10,000 items. Just say there was 2,000 items, and we had to merge them. Um, about 100 in is where you start. There's got to be a faster way than
Yeah.
doing this individually. Um, and this is where you start to question, and then you start to go down this rabbit hole of what else could do this. And then meanwhile, you're wasting time that you could have got 100, 200 done more if you'd just done it manually, while you're going down this rabbit hole trying to find a better way. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
this back and forth of is the juice worth the squeeze when it comes to finding a better way to do things, and is it going to be something, are they all one-offs, right? So do I find something that solves for this, and this is the only thing I can use it for, uh, and then you end up being like, well, okay, well, that was a waste of my time to save
Yeah.
time on this job, right?
Exactly. I mean, and I think in, like, for example, this one that we're going to start working on, um, it is a bit of a sorry, the word I'm trying to think of the word I want. Not fast or rushed, but a bit of a sense of urgency. And if I wasn't able to use automation, it would take me 10 times as long. So
Yeah.
I'm able to deliver a quality product to the customer faster. I still have to do the actual accounting and make sure that it's correct, but I can cut down on the data entry, like, so much more efficiently than I would have before. So for me, it's all it at this point. I've been using automation and AI for a long time, and I'm pretty skilled with it. And even for me, it's not replacing what I'm doing. It is adding, much like the way that we think about, an iPhone. Before we had 3, 4 different products. It's now been combined into one thing. It's more efficient. We were supposed to gain all this time, but now all we're doing is scrolling on these iPhones. So,
Yeah.
I, you have to take it kind of with a grain of salt. So I
Right.
do think that, if people can make them, this is like launched into a whole other conversation, but if people can sort of, be a little bit more creative and display their worth, like, oh, hey, now I'm more efficient, but, I can also add on this for you,
Hmm.
to show I'm still worth, the investment, then I don't think it's going to replace anybody. It's really going to enhance, I think,
Yeah.
the deliverables that
Yeah.
we can do for our clients.
And it really just boils down to what are you doing with the time that you're saving, right? Like,
Yeah.
because this is when we talk about I can't remember the guy's name, but it's the hierarchy where you have um, you know urgent and important, right? Like there's things in the world that are urgent, and there are things in the world that are important, and we end up getting stuck on urgent and important rather than not urgent but important, because those are typically the things that are worth doing, right? But we end up being this fireman of like trying
Yeah.
to put out fires all the
Putting out
time.
fires. Yeah.
uh, but if you add this other layer of significance to urgent and importance, then it makes it more clear how saving time will allow you to move from urgent and important to not urgent but still important, and
Yeah,
those are
I
the
mean, and
things that
into
are
a more
valuable.
creative space where you can
Yeah.
actually, like, oh, this is neat. I can kind of learn about this, put this together, kind of think about your work in a different way. If you're a business owner, you can kind of imagine different things, and you're not constantly stuck in
Right.
the putting out fire mode. And I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I was going to say something else, but oh, forgot.
No. Apparently it wasn't important, but it became urgent
No.
because it came up.
I know.
All right. So next week we're going to be. I just created it and I can't remember what it is. Next
Oh,
week.
it's modern
Modern
reports.
reports.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to kind of talk about how these custom fields flow into reports, and we'll talk about some of the gripes and concerns about the modern report view, that we want to kind of lay that out and talk about that next week on the workshop. So thank you for joining us this week, and we hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you next time on the workshop Wednesday.